Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Service Riders Anonymous. I am Amy here, as always, with my beautiful co-host, Miss Brooke.
Hello again.
All right, so today we're going to dive in on the tool trucks.
Let's just chat for a minute. Okay. I have nothing against tool trucks. I think that it's an amazing thing that people do. It allows technicians to be able to find tools that they can get warranties on. You can do that at Harbor Freight as well, but I do whatever. Name brand stuff, if that's what you like, it's what you get.
There's so much stigma about Harbor Freight. Like, it's hard, even as a new technician coming into the industry and you don't have any money to spend on a real tool truck. Like, I feel like they're intimidated by other guys into forcing themselves into debt to buy off these tool trucks.
To be like a Snap-on guy or to be the Matco guy, whatever it is, they just want to kind of fit in, which I totally understand. However, you shouldn't be on a tool truck for an hour when you have a waiter. So tool trucks come different days of the week sometimes for most dealerships, like a Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, depending on what it is. I know that Snap-on usually comes on like a Thursday, I think.
Yeah, and it depends on what area you're in.
Yeah, I mean, they have different routes that they have to go on depending on when they get to that shop. But anyways, not what we want to talk about. What I want to talk about, however, is when I have a technician that it says, I need work, I need work, I need work. So what do? As the advisor, I bring him a brake job for a waiter. Snap-on comes, and he decides to go out there for an hour. Plus, while I have a waiter in the lounge, I want to bring you techs up there and make you talk to that waiter when you do that to me. It wasn't my decision for you to blatantly not care that you had a waiter when you asked for the work, but you wanted to go on the tool truck. But Brooke, I needed a new wrench. I needed this wrench. It took you an hour to buy that wrench? No, it didn't, Kevin. Don't lie to me, Kevin. It did not take you an hour to do that. You got to talking. I get it. We all get to talking. At the end of the day, I think most shops, however, not all, but most, I think run as like a family friend kind of a business. Most of your coworkers you get along with, you care about their families, what they're going through, what you can do to help them. But it should go both ways.
Yeah.
But there are some, like, I think the newer guys that are just so excited.
Yeah.
They're fresh. They're excited, which is great. Be excited. Be happy to be what you are. You went through a lot of training or schooling to be where you're at, and you're finally there. So happy for them. I'm not meaning that sarcastically.
Yeah.
But when you have people relying on you, just skip the tool truck that day. Just skip it that day. They'll be back next week. They're here every week.
They will be back next week, and if you actually do need something, you know what you need before you step on that truck.
Exactly.
You don't have to sit there and BS with the tool truck driver or the other techs while you're up there. Like, just go in and get what you need and then leave.
Yeah, and a lot of times when the tool trucks come, we are at a slower time. I know specifically in our area, some of them do come around lunchtime.
Yeah, they're usually around lunch.
Which is awesome because it's sometimes when we are slower, but sometimes it's the exact opposite. It's when we have a bunch of people randomly dropping off, a bunch of tow-ins randomly showing up. So all the guys in that morning that are flat rate, they aren't just there by the hour. They don't get paid just to show up. Mm-hmm. They get paid by everything they can finish, everything like they can get done. So if they've been asking me all morning for something, and I give you something, Kevin, stay off that tool truck. You can go next week. The threat, I will call your wife, has come up multiple times. Call your wife.
Oh my goodness. This does remind me of at my first little shop. Me and the youngest tech started within a week of each other. He's literally started the week before I did.
Oh, awesome.
And it will forever be ingrained that I bought something off of the tool truck before he did.
Yeah. It used to throw him off when I was on there too. All the techs were, what are you doing? Well, I decided to pick a spouse that also has the same career.
Right.
So I'm getting gifts.
That's exactly what I did. I bought a mag rail. And it's like, honestly, I love Cornwell's mag rails, by the way.
And what's crazy about the tool trucks is they have to pay for most of their inventory. They prepay for it.
I think that's changing a little bit because I saw an ad the other day trying to find drivers and it was like an hourly pay. It wasn't.
Oh.
Yeah, it was weird. So I
That'd be
really
kind
need
of
to,
nice.
yeah, I really need to do some more research on that because if you don't have to like buy your truck and all the tools up front anymore, like, that could be a career.
Because I know specifically one of the Snap-on driver that we were talking about earlier that my spouse and I are very close with, like we know his wife and everybody,
Hmm.
he had told us that. That's where we got that from. Same thing with the
Hmm.
Mac guy. I know him as well. They both told us that they had to pay for whatever they have on their truck.
Yeah, yeah.
Which
Then that's
that
how it's always
truck, I mean,
been.
just all the tools in there, that's like
Yeah.
$20,000, $30,000
Oh
sitting
yeah.
on that truck.
Absolutely. And like that was the other thing about that little teeny tiny town was like Cornwall did so much better because number one, he had a significantly newer, nicer, bigger truck.
Yeah.
And number two, there was never anything on the Snap-on truck.
Hmm.
How are you going to
Because of
sell
that.
me anything if you don't have it on hand? That was the whole point of the trucks.
Yeah.
Was to bring everything you could need to you, not to order it and wait 3 weeks.
Exactly. Or when they're warranting stuff, I've heard a lot of people complain trying to get those drivers back to the shop to warranty those things can also be quite the pickle. Because I think it also comes out of their pocket.
Well, and when I think initially, yes, I think they have to return it back to Snap-on, and that I'll have to find it. I can't remember his name.
We're gonna do a little bit more research into that, but just from what I remember,
I can't remember his name, but there is a Snap-on driver on TikTok who is just, he is exactly what you expect, what you had heard your grandfather and your great-grandfather talk about how the Snap-on guys were. Like he fixes stuff on the truck.
yeah.
In one of his videos, he fixed a flashlight that was like a Blue Point. It wasn't even a Snap-on product necessarily.
Oh,
And Blue Point is a Snap-on brand. Just that's a thing. I think it's Snap-on. Anyway, whatever. He was
Blue Point's
fixing
one of them.
he was fixing this flashlight that wasn't even a Snap-on branded light.
yeah.
He just kept the repair kits on hand. So he just threw it together for this guy in like 2 minutes.
And I mean, what that does is it's retention. Let's talk about parts markup.
Okay, but I am coming back to tool trucks.
We'll be back for you, tool trucks. We're not done with you, but really quick, part markups. So across the board, it's different at most dealerships. Bigger dealerships, for some reason, tend to be a higher door rate or like a higher markup, from my experience.
You know, honestly, like at Toyota, I never saw the cost versus
Oh, I'm nosy.
list.
I found it.
And that was part of like having a parts department that took full responsibility for their parts. Like I had no ability to change parts pricing, period. The only thing I could do was apply coupons.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and like that was all part of CDK. Like someday I'll talk about the CDK outage and the trauma.
Oh my god. Honestly, I still have nightmares about that. People screaming at me for
My dealership not being
something I
able to get
never
you
even
parts.
use. Like I don't use CDK. It's not me. I'm just telling you, it's down. We'll get there, okay? I'm like sweating thinking about that. People were so horrendous about that.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah, sometime I'm gonna talk about the CDK outage once I can relive that trauma.
oh, such a day. I mean, and that's another thing. I think that people constantly think it's our doing
Right.
or the parts department's doing. You know, some part of the dealership, it's their fault. If it's a global site or a European part, whatever the case may be, sorry, Linda, I do not make that decision.
Yeah.
I don't make that decision. Trust me, I want you out of here quickly.
I kind of feel like people forget that like we are also humans who
Yeah.
also have lives and things that are going on in our lives. I also feel like as an adult, you should probably have some sort of backup plan because these are machines. They are mechanical machines. They have all of these electronics if you've got something newer. All of these things have tendencies to fail over time. And like beyond just the physical time that it takes a technician to remove said failed part or reprogram said failed electrical system, you also have to consider you're not the only vehicle in that shop that day.
And I think that's so interesting why people don't think that way. Or some people, excuse me. It's not everybody. Some people are very understanding about the business. And they've never been in it before. They just get that I'm sorry, not everything is dropped at the hat because you're having a bad day and you're leaking oil. I'm sorry, so is 5 of my other customers. One of them's having a baby, and this is their mom car. Trust me, we get it and we do everything we can to help you. But I will say, the more you yell at me and call me names, the further you get on my list. The further you'll get on my list.
Yeah, and that's the stuff that we have some amount of control over.
If I
Beyond that, we have no control over how long it takes to get parts in. We have no control over what those parts are going to cost you, especially if I have to ship them in from, some European supplier, or God forbid from Europe or Japan directly.
Yeah. Most of the time, dealerships don't even have a big enough parts department to hold all of these parts that go out, like catalytic converters or weird evap sensors. Some of the more interesting parts, I guess I would say, that aren't just at a parts store, like aren't at Napa and stuff, because they just don't sell those kind of things there. What was it? A gauge cluster.
Yeah.
Those not all the time are at a parts store. And most of the time, most dealers aren't going to hold them there because you have to send out yours so they can get the mileage off of it, or you have to send in that mileage, and then that vehicle can't be driven until that part comes in built after 4 weeks. I mean, there's even some ignition cylinders that you have to order that takes 6+ weeks to come in because they have to be coated, keys have to be cut. I mean, there's so much that goes into it, and the car can't move.
Yep.
I had one of those. I think it was a Jetta. And luckily that gentleman, completely understanding.
Yeah.
So understanding, so kind. I hardly charged the dude because of it. Because I was just like, thank you. It's a reward. I try to reward people for not screaming at me. Because they understand, I'm just here to help you. I'm here to care about you. That's why I do the job. I care about what I'm doing and I want to help people.
Yep. Yeah, we are just humans as well.
Yeah.
We understand what you're going through, and we are trying to get it taken care of as quickly as possible. But time frame is very, very rarely in our hands.
Very rarely. The only thing that we really can control is when your parts show up and constantly reminding the tech that it needs to be done. Because, that's kind of where we're at. So not only are we just pushing paperwork across a desk, right? That's not our job. It is our job, but that's not all of it. We also help remind techs. We also help keep techs on it, help keep parts on it, help keeping updates. There's so many people we have to talk to. The sales department, the parts department, our technicians, service managers sometimes. When your part's here and I have a technician that's right in the middle of a differential, for instance, that's going to take them maybe another day. If it's a crazy setup, I don't know, maybe a front differential on a really small compact car where most of the freaking car has to go to get it out.
On pretty much anything but a pickup or SUV, almost all, especially newer vehicles, are what is called a transaxle. So your transmission and front axle are the same part. And your engine sits sideways in there, which is actually super convenient for 4-cylinders, because if you have a 4-cylinder transaxle, all your spark plugs are right up front.
Yeah, so easy. You don't have to really get back there.
Yeah. I wish I had a picture. I had a 4-cylinder Ranger, not a transaxle, normal configuration, that somehow had 2 plugs per cylinder. That little 4-cylinder had 2 plugs per cylinder, and it was so confusing when I got the spark plug wire kit and there were 8 wires in it. I'm like,
we have a problem.
This truck's not a V8. And he's like, yep, I'm aware. And I was 18.
Oh, gotcha.
This was before college. I was maybe a couple of months into my high school automotive class, if that.
Oh, that's awesome.
So trying to get to the last spark plugs on the back, which is equally obnoxious on a V8, probably more so because there's less room in the engine bay than there was with this little inline 4-cylinder. But I had every extension in my tools and my mom's tools, and I think I even had to borrow one from the neighbor.
I love that.
A couple of universal joints in the middle, it was the most outrageous thing I have ever done by my hands, by myself. Except possibly. No, it is still the most outrageous thing I've done, me. The most outrageous thing I've witnessed was in college, we were pretty much usually teamed up.
Yeah.
So I almost always was teamed up with one guy that went through my high school automotive class with me. So we'd been friends for a while. And we had to do the air valve on this Kenworth, which the foot valve on some trucks is not firewall mounted, which is way easier to deal with. The ones that are mounted on the firewall are almost impossible to get to get tight.
Yeah.
I mean, he never did. He never did achieve it. Actually, the girl that now works for Waste Management a couple of years later was helping with a demonstration with that class because she was really close with the teacher that took over from mine when he passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And she was actually the one that finally got it to stop leaking air because we never could.
Awesome.
I remember him being in there completely laying backwards over the tire with his head in the firewall going, I am one with the Kenworth.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. Yeah, I keep seeing a lot of videos of ladies doing yoga and thinking they're all flexible, and then it's a picture of a mechanic all contorted in a dash or in a wheel well or something like that. It's my favorite.
Yeah.
Because honestly, these guys can do some stuff. They can do some stuff. They get into the craziest spots, but it also comes with trying to find the quicker way of doing it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't need to pull all this off. I can just shove in here, and if I don't get out, I'll just call for help.
Yeah, I love the TikTok videos of the guy like holding the other guy's feet in the air.
Those are my favorite. There's another one where he was like, I think you sent it to me all propped up against the wall in the engine. And it's a real thing. They do that. I hate having to walk up to those guys like that. I feel like they're so vulnerable. It's like walking up to a dog while they're trying to poop. Like, and they look at you like, don't look at me. That's what it feels like. And I'm like, I just need an update. But they're like sprawled out. It's just like, you know what? I'll come back. Sorry. Didn't mean to see you like that.
Oh, God. God help us if an OSHA inspector ever showed up without an appointment.
Without any sort of hesitate or like a heads up. We'll go back to tool trucks if you want, though.
Yes.
Before we get too far.
So that little teeny tiny town, we were the only shop in the town proper. It was a little industrial park a couple miles south of town, and there was 2 other technicians there, and then everybody else was down in the main town of the county. So, like, it really was not that profitable of a route, sure, but, like, our Snap-on guy was just mean. And it's
How can you be mean?
Even if you couldn't be bothered to keep inventory on your truck, like, if you would do your job and warranty our parts and take care of us, like, we would buy a lot more stuff from you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, they do have good stuff.
Yeah,
and we have strong parts.
And there were a lot. There was probably 7 or 8 shops down in the bigger town. So like, if you actually had a reputation as a good tool truck guy, like, you would be making pretty good money.
Absolutely.
Like, the Cornwall guy, I think, did pretty well.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he did. But a lot of it also comes with you have to have some sort of customer service.
Yeah. And at my shop, my guys would have 1000% rather had Snap-on tools than Cornwall.
Mm-hmm.
But they just couldn't buy them from him.
Mm-mm.
And he wouldn't warranty anything.
And it's so frustrating.
So, and when he retired, nobody took over his route.
Oh, I bet.
So that was why I was kind of fascinated when I saw that ad. I was like, oh, I wonder if Snap-on would just hire me because I'll take that route.
Oh, absolutely. Any day of the week, give me it. I mean, I think that tool trucks are great because, like I said, they do come to the shop. Yeah. They are able to get technicians' tools, especially if they're right in the middle of the job, and it helps them remember, oh, I need this tool. And so that way, when they get home, they have dinner with their wives and their kids and whatever the case may be, or husbands, whatever it is they got. They forget. I mean, we're humans, right? Again, we're all human beings. Even robots make mistakes. Like, especially robots. A lot of these vehicles are made by robots nowadays. The newer stuff, specifically at GM, where I used to work once upon a time, we constantly told people when there was some crazy defect that just shouldn't be there. Sorry, that robot was drinking on that Friday. You know, we try to joke with it because at the end of the day, it's nobody's fault. It's just the times. It's the time that we live in.
Yeah.
We don't live in
the 40s and 50s when everything was like built by hand and had some quality control.
Yeah. I mean, these aren't mass machining shops anymore. A lot of that went away when COVID happened.
Yeah.
Like the remainders that were still there, where people were hands-on building these parts, a lot of them did go away.
Yeah. And I just feel like quality control just doesn't even exist anymore. I think they just
They're just trying to
eliminated the
hurry.
quality control parts.
They're just trying to hurry and get these parts out.
It is fascinating to me that you brought up GM specifically as far as the robots, because there is, and I don't know how accurate it is, but there is a story out there that a GM CEO or, somebody high up like
Yeah.
that was touring a Toyota facility. And they kind of get close to the end of the tour, and the GM guy goes, "So where's your reject lot?" And the Toyota guy was just kind of confused. He's like, "Well, what do you mean?" He's like, "Well, where do you put all of the vehicles that have defects that need to be fixed?" And he said, "We don't have that."
It's called purgatory.
Yeah, we don't have that here. So if something is faulty on the line, it is shipped back to Toyota in Japan to find out exactly what happened. That line is shut down to find out exactly what happened and repair that flaw.
Yeah.
And the only time anything flawed came off the line, got sold, was if it was some like a stitching error on the steering wheel or something like that. That was the only thing that they deemed appropriate to repair and sell. And obviously this was a few years ago, because Toyota's clearly not like that anymore. But
yeah, no, it's true. It's called purgatory. I believe it's in like Louisiana or something, actually. So they don't keep them at their lots most of the time. Sometimes we do, but there's transit trucks that come and pick them up and they take them to purgatory. And that's always what they're called, is purgatory. So sometimes even when your vehicle, you get on the computer, on the website, and you custom build that truck. A lot of those vehicles are built so fast, and they realize they're missing parts, missing chips that run your heated seats, chips that run your safety features, your, what's it called? The over-the-air
updates and stuff.
Yeah, like some of that stuff, those chips aren't available.
Telematics.
So, yes. So what do? They send it to purgatory until those parts are there, and whenever those parts show up, it could be 8 months, it could be years. There was specifically a gentleman that had just bought 2022 GMC truck. He was so pumped about it, custom made it online. Waited a full year. Warranty started as soon as that truck was built. Its built date is when the warranty started, not when the customer got that truck, not when they sold that truck. It's its build date.
Which still feels
so wrong. So wrong. But anyways.
Yeah, I mean, granted, like, I had my truck within a month of its build date, but, like, my warranty started the day I picked it up and signed paperwork.
Oh, yeah. If it came in with that sort of a defect, like stitching is messed up or seatbelts are not working, we had airbags that would deploy randomly. We had hoods that were misaligned. What was the other thing? There was something else that was huge that I could not believe. We were like, yeah, this is fine. Whenever there's a fix for it, we'll let you know. It was some sort of chip that like controlled like the navigation and the stereo and stuff. Whenever we get it, we'll let you know. Well, if you're at a bumper to bumper, you pay for that chip at that point.
Yeah.
Sometimes you were. It took that long. Because also, this was shortly after the pandemic.
Yeah.
So, yeah, nope, that is a true thing. Depending on the size of their lots, depending on how much of their rejects they can hold there before the transit trucks will take them to purgatory.
Yeah.
But any GM dealerships know what I say when I say purgatory.
And I
don't know if it's just GM.
I really want to know if all GM dealers did that or if it was just yours.
From what I heard, it was all of them. It was most GM dealerships. When they had something like that had a part that the customer was flat out not okay with taking that vehicle until it was fixed, we didn't hold it at the shop. They didn't hold it at the shop. They
no, I mean that. Not that. Just like the warranty starting when it was built.
Oh.
Like,
as far as I know, according to GM's website, that's what we used. Was GM Central, I think is what it's called. That might not be it. What is it called? Whatever. Their GM.
Yeah, because Toyota did not start their warranties until the customer took possession of the vehicle.
Yeah, GM's not like that. It's at the build date. Because I would always go to my warranty admin. Well, what's the build date?
Yeah, date of first use, what Toyota called it.
Yeah.
Which also was what we termed the national history. So when we printed the national history, we called it the DOFU, the date of first use.
Mm-hmm. I know that Ford also is a build date, not when it's sold. Because all of my Fords that I've ever had, it was off of the build date. Whenever it was built.
How does that freaking fly when it sits?
So-
They can sit on. I mean, granted, during COVID, they weren't sitting on the lots for months, but
No.
like,
Yeah, that's a thing. No matter what it is, it's a build date. Because my truck was a 23 and I bought it at the end of 23 when they had rebates and stuff on it as
Yeah.
well, because they had to sell them because their 1 year, their first year of warranty was already up. It's part of it.
yeah, that's wild to me. Like my warranty started on April 22nd when
Must
I
be
drove
nice to
that truck
drive
off the lot.
Toyota. Yeah, no, not at least I know for a fact with Ford that's how it is, as that's, you know, my brand. I love Ford. I love Ford. I'm a girl. I'm a cosmetic person. I like the way they look. I like the way they feel. I like how it drives. Love to tell you guys, I just found this out from my freaking mechanic spouse, because when we went to Vegas on the interstate, it's like almost 90 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
First off, we don't need to go that fast. I'm not a race car driver and I cannot handle going that fast. So we're driving in my truck and he had reset the fuel mileage so we could see what it would be. I was expecting it to be like 24, 30. It went down.
That fast, yeah.
It went down and I didn't know that. I thought the faster you'd go, the more that's burnt out, the more that it's happy because it's just improves, you know?
Yeah, between like
Lies.
55 and 75 is where it's going to be the happiest. When you get over that, then it's starting.
Now I know. But I will tell you what, when I watched it drop, I was like, what did you do? What did you do? And he's all, I didn't do it. We were going 90. And I was like, why were we going that fast? So irrational. So, like, trust me, I'm irrational about a lot of things. There are certain things, like, for instance, I over-maintain my vehicle. I've had people tell me that all the time. I don't think I do. I think that I should maintain it more. I think I should do oil changes every month. But I don't need to. I shouldn't do that. And I'm not doing that. Don't judge me.
Your
I don't want to hear the
paycheck
comments.
is the only thing that suffers for that.
Which, honestly, to me, it's an investment. I'm investing in that vehicle to last me as long as I can make it. When we got this truck, my biggest thing was I wanted to beat the stigma. I wanted to beat when those timing chains go out. I want to beat when those turbos normally go out. I want to make it last. And
well, and honestly, like, it's because Ford says 10,000 miles, and like
so
the
bad.
filters just don't hold up for that.
No.
So like you're really not getting the filtration that you need. That's what affects the timing chains and turbos is the dirty oil.
Yep.
So like
It's lack of lubrication.
yeah, just change your oil every 5,000 miles.
Or 3 if you're like me.
Or
Okay, I
3
can't
if
even
you're
make it 3.
psycho. Yeah.
I can't make it 3. I do it every 3 months no matter what it is. If I have 500 miles that I drove in 3 months, it's getting an oil change. It's sat for 3 months.
Would at least go 6.
I can't. The like fear in me, like I'm pretty sure it needs an oil change. And it's been sitting for a month. Because I've been hardly using it because I just live down the road now from where I work. So I just take the Ram. Because it hardly moves.
No.
And I feel like it's harder on the diesel to sit that long than it is my gasser. But is that true?
With the diesel, like you, especially with all the emissions garbage on it,
Yeah.
The biggest thing that will kill diesels is the short trips. So,
Yeah.
like, yeah, if he's driving, over the mountains as his commute, that's way better on that truck than if
Oh,
you
yeah.
were driving up the street with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll drive it through the week to keep mainly the batteries healthy. Because it gets super cold where I live right now. In the boonies. Wasn't expecting it to get that cold out there. But I've been a little worried about the batteries on that vehicle.
Well, and you're right at the foot of the mountains.
Mm-hmm. And so I drive it throughout the week. And then every weekend we come down here. So we burn out the DPF by the time we get here. So, I mean, that truck is getting pretty well maintained. My truck, it'd actually be a little bit harder on with my putting because I refuse to take it all the time. I don't want to put all the miles on it, so I don't burn out my cats. My cats get plugged up. So it happened on my last truck. Because I putt because I'm a granny and I want to stay home and knit.
Yeah, I mean, in general, like, I think that people don't realize that like your emission system is designed to work on highway driving. So regardless of whether it's diesel or gas, like if you only drive your car, like my mother-in-law,
Yeah.
before she lived out of town, when she lived in town and worked in town, even on the other end of town, she basically put that car in drive and just let it idle to work. When
I'm not like her.
And this was her old car, but when like we would take it to Denver because it was the most fuel efficient thing anybody had in the
Yeah.
whole family. When we would take it to Denver, like it had an average speed. The average speed when we had been on the highway for over an hour finally crept up to 18 miles an hour. And she could not figure out why she kept having problems with the emission system. It's like, because you don't put your foot in the damn thing.
Let's actually. Okay, people. When you go to a lot, specifically it's used cars.
Yeah.
Used cars you buy as is, or you buy with a warranty. And it's an extended warranty. Or there's still some factory warranty left. But I know that it's GM, it has to be a certified pre-owned. It's not a certified pre-owned, which means you didn't maintain, or the previous customer didn't really maintain that vehicle. They didn't do their maintenance intervals like they were supposed to. They don't get the rest of the warranty like they're supposed to. So you buy it as is. So when you see that as is, it's not, oh, this car is perfect. Nope. Most of the time, that's not the case. It's not the case at all. And especially if they tell you they can't put a warranty on it because you bought a 2005 2500. It's because sometimes it's too old for a extended warranty to warranty it.
Or too many miles. If you're over
That too.
200,000 miles, you're lucky if you can get something that covers your powertrain
Yeah, and most of the time it's like a select
component.
yeah, a select component, but I was thinking about the one that you have certain dollar amounts.
Oh,
So
yeah,
there's
yeah.
only $3,000 for the transmission. So if you have a $6,000 transmission, we're just talking parts.
Yeah.
Cost. You have a $6,000 transmission, they're only going to pay $3,000 to help you with that. And it's just because of the mileage. It's just because of the kind of vehicle it is. And you have to ask those questions as a customer. Don't just sit there and get super excited and sign all this paperwork. I'm happy for you. We are excited for you. But listen and ask questions.
Yeah.
So you don't set yourself up for that. We have people constantly come into us. Just bought an as-is vehicle. Wrote a check for $3,000 for that vehicle. Bad. That's really called a mechanic special.
Yeah.
Most of the time. Especially if it's a newer car you just bought. Like a 2015 Audi. That you bought for $5,000 as is. That was a towaway. And it blew up on you. It's because it was a towaway. It's because we knew that the cost of the whatever it needed, that repair, was worth more than that vehicle. So we're just going to sell it as is, sell it the way that it is, and it's your problem.
Yeah.
But it comes from the customer asking those questions. Some dealerships are shady, and they won't tell you. And I am so sorry for when you get into those situations. I've been in those situations.
And if you're buying a vehicle as is, like, yeah, they're probably not going to tell you what it is.
Mm-mm.
But I would at the very least blue book it and make sure you're not paying more than blue book for a good running vehicle.
Yeah. Yes. If you start it and it's ticking, or it smells weird,
Or the
open
whole
the
vehicle
hood.
shakes.
Yeah, or the exhaust is like smacking. You guys, bring it over, even park it, take some videos, go to a service department you trust. Say, what do you think this is?
Yeah.
Just ask. Don't be so quick to get it. Don't be so quick to get it. You can always put something to hold that vehicle. Sometimes it's $100. For some people, it's $500, depending on what vehicle it is, to hold it so they can't sell it out from underneath you while you go ask those questions. We love to help people and explain to them what they could be getting themselves into, but you can't come to me after you made your adult decision screaming at me because of your adult decision.
Yeah.
You seen it was as is. You knew that there was no warranty on it. Most dealerships, if they sell it to you as is, there's not even such a thing as a 30-day warranty after you drive off the lot. They're not going to help you with anything that goes wrong with that vehicle.
Yep.
Absolutely not. Because they aren't liable to. They sold it to you as is.
Mm-hmm.
Most dealerships have a waiver of some sort that says, this dealership, told you it's as is. We are not fixing anything on this vehicle. We are not liable for anything that goes wrong on this vehicle. You denied any extended warranty on this vehicle. Sign here. And you did. And that's when people are like, well, I'll just get my lawyer.
Your
Don't
lawyer's
threaten
gonna
your lawyer to the
yeah.
service department. We're trying to help you.
And the second you bring up lawyers to a service department,
We have to hang up.
I would say most service managers are like, conversation's over.
We can't talk to you anymore.
If you threaten a lawyer, we can no longer help you. That is officially between your lawyer and the dealership, and we are no longer involved.
Yep. And that, I feel like a lot of the times those are the worst, because I just want to help you. I get that you got excited, your wife was pregnant, and you were just trying to hurry up and buy a vehicle that could fit all 7 kids that you got. Again, it was your adult decision that led you here.
Yep.
And all that's going to fix it is by making better adult decisions to be nicer to a service department that's trying to help you. Because that's all we're trying to do.
Yeah.
Most of the time. Again, there are advisors. Specifically, when you walk into a dealership and you see advisors that won't talk to each other. That's usually because one of them's a bad apple. And what that means is they're greedy. They'll steal work from other advisors. They will overprice things to make more money, because again, we're also most of the time not hourly. We are paid by what we can sell most of the time. Sometimes it's salary plus commission.
Yeah.
My first dealership, I was straight commission. The second dealership I worked at, I was salary plus commission. But either way, we are just trying to help you. But I mean, it also comes from, if you can read people really well, use those skills. Trust your gut.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
My mama raised me that way. Trust your gut. You ain't got nothing nice to say, shut the hell up. I definitely was raised on that as well.
Yep.
So if I have customers, and there's been very rarely customers I couldn't work with because of it, or advisors I couldn't work with because of that. But at the end of the day, we all have a job to do. And there's customers that need help. And that's where, at least we come from, that's where we're at in our game. We're trying to help. We're trying to fix it for you. Also, I don't want you here very long. Love you people sometimes, but I don't want you or your car.
Yeah,
in the shop.
Like, we want to get your stuff in and out as quickly as you want to. We don't have control over the time frame most of the time. We're waiting on warranty. We're waiting on parts. Like, a lot of times, if you have a big issue with your vehicle, it could be 2-3 weeks.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes at least. And that's if you have a normal vehicle, like a Toyota or a Ford or a Honda.
Yeah.
But if you have a Jaguar or a Maserati,
a Porsche.
Oh my God. Don't even get me started on a Porsche. Man, that's going to take like 2 months plus. Sometimes, because those parts come from Germany or somewhere not in the country.
Yeah. Well, and even, we had the one that you were working on that the parts department at the local dealership said, oh yeah, I've got that in stock when we ordered it, and then actually went to try and put their hands on it and couldn't. So that parts department paid what I can only imagine was a small fortune for overnight shipping from Germany. And I certainly hope they got their money back, because it took over a month for that to arrive. Yeah.
We even sent that customer the tracking information so he could see, I'm not lying to you.
Yeah.
We rushed it. I did everything I could to get it here. It's not here.
And so did the parts department at the Porsche dealership.
And I mean, customers are awful sometimes about it. Like, you just want to keep my car hostage. Do you see the size of my parking lot, buddy? No, I do not. And you are a disgusting human being. I have no reason I want to work with you ever again.
Oh my goodness. Well, let's do a couple more reviews.
Ooh, I got a good one. Okay, so this one, I have no idea where it's from. It's actually from 8 years ago. I just seen it. So this gentleman, he took a VW GTI he had in his teenage years to the dealership near his house because the spring came out underneath the pedal area. It was a clutch return spring thingy, he says. They charged me $50 to stick it back in. Okay, fine. Paid the bill, went on his merry way. He figured it was probably something important, but 2 days later it fell out again. So he took it back and he says, I was just here. You said you fixed it, but it's out again. They ended up keeping his car for a little bit longer. They ended up replacing a bulb that was out. When he got the bill, they charged him $10 for the light plus another $50 for that clutch spring again. So he said, hold on. You already charged me 2 days ago and it came back out. He says, the service advisor chick says, yeah, but they found out that your aftermarket stereo, an Alpine in-dash MP3 player, was interfering with it and they had to work around that. The customer says, how? How does my stereo have anything to do with my clutch spring? She paused for 20 seconds, ripped up the invoice, and only charged him the $10 for that light. Because she knew something wasn't right about that.
Yeah. Even she read the story and was like, this guy's an idiot.
This guy
This technician
was
is
mad he couldn't
beyond.
listen to tunes while he replaced the spring. I mean, outrageous. Crazy things.
Oh my goodness. So I've got a couple of short ones from this is actually the dealership where I bought my truck, that I swore I would never go back to again because the finance manager just straight up lied to me.
It happens a lot.
Yeah. So, this person is a terrible service advisor. He will treat you like a child, will blatantly ignore your requests, and attempt to absolve himself of any blame when it leads to his screw up. What was an otherwise okay visit was completely ruined by one absolute buffoon, and it seems the management is okay with the sort of mistreatment of customers. Don't go there. Another one says, this dealership is charging me for services I declined after they lost my car and key. They also didn't provide all of the services on their website and won't update it. This place is a scam.
Oh, God.
So this one may actually not be so much on the dealership, but just how Toyota does their recalls.
Mm-hmm.
So it says, I've been getting recall notifications since last March and called numerous times, then the item is never available for repair.
Mm-hmm.
There is constant conflicting messages from service. They told me they would contact me when available, and I've never heard anything back. It's now October. I called today, and miraculously, one recall item is in after all these months. The main operator even sounded like it was the end of the world for me to get connected for help, and I'm very disappointed in the help from this dealership, and I wish I would have checked other dealers before moving to this area. Which is funny, because, like, this is a very big metro area, so, like, there's 5 other Toyota dealerships within a mile. But anyway,
Here we are.
as far as the recalls, Toyota sends out a recall notice as soon as they find there's a problem.
Yep, so does GM.
And it says, if you actually read the whole letter, it says, this is a problem we are working on.
Yes.
And we will send you a second letter when we have a remedy available.
Mm-hmm.
And you can schedule with your dealership.
Yes.
Now, my generation Tacoma had a recall on the axle nuts.
Mm-hmm.
There was some welding debris that wasn't cleaned up properly, so the nuts would fail.
Yeah.
And the axle would fall apart, which was awesome. There were so many of those trucks on the road that did fall into that production date range, that we got to the point where Toyota would only allow each dealership to order 4 kits per day.
Mm-hmm.
And we could not just start tearing into it unless we had the kits on hand.
Yeah.
Because yes, we had to inspect it and see, like, was the welding, like, is there actually welding debris that may affect this?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, probably 70% of the ones we inspected didn't. But the ones that did, like, you had to replace the bolts before you could put it back together.
Yeah.
So we could not start those inspections without having those bolts on hand.
Mm-hmm.
And only being able to order 4 kits a day when I've got maybe 16 of those trucks coming through every single day.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's a very real thing. Like, it was the fuel line recall on the Tundra, on the 22 Tundra. That fuel line recall, the first letter had gone out before I ever started.
Okay.
So it had already been a few months that the first letter was out telling people, like, hey, don't park these in your garage. They might start fires.
Yeah, GM had a similar one for their grid heaters.
And they were working on a fix for months and months and months, and finally just found a temporary fix that they could put in place while they were still waiting for a permanent one.
That's funny how Toyota and GM are so similar.
And, like, it was probably 6 months I had worked there before the temporary fix even came out.
Mm-hmm.
And then, again, like, we have to order all of those parts specifically by the bin.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
that Toyota knows Like
this has been fixed.
Yeah, on the Tundra specifically, it had to be on the VIN. The Tacomas, we were able to order kits to keep in stock, but again, only 4 a day.
Yeah.
So, you know, parts availability is actually going to be an issue after you get that second recall notice. That's why you have to have a little bit of give and take with your dealerships. And
read it.
If it's something that is like a big safety concern, like the engine recalls on the Tundras, after the second letter, after the fix is actually available, if you have to wait for parts availability, a lot of times Toyota will put you in a rental car if you feel unsafe driving that car.
Yeah. And it just depends. I know specifically, so GM had the grid heaters that would catch fire in people's garages, that they would plug in their trucks to keep them, you know, be able to warm them up easier. So their first fix after so long was just to cut the cord so people weren't allowed to plug them in. So then they just were disabled. And then finally, a year later, they had the grid heaters fixed. And then the airbags would randomly deploy, and they had shrapnel in them, and it was killing people. That was a huge one.
Yeah.
A huge one, because it said in the recall notice, airbags found to have shrapnel inside. Carnival vans, what was it? Something would make something in the dash blow up, and it killed a family in Denver.
Jeez.
So they recalled a bunch of stuff on those vehicles. Actually, our detail department removed a part of the dash that was causing that. Detail, not technicians. Our detail department removed it.
This was a GM?
No, this was at Kia.
Oh, that's right. I forgot you worked at Kia for a minute too.
I've been in some places. Now, okay, to be fair, I don't bounce around. It was the same company. And I worked at multiple different locations. I would help at Hyundai one day. I'd help at all kinds of places, and it was awesome, to be honest with you. I had a good time with it. The company was just shady.
Nice. This one I also think may be more so on the customer. I bought a new Grand Highlander in April and noticed right away the car can't get fueled up to the max of 17 gallons, but only takes 12. I spoke with someone from the service team, and she promised she would follow up and keep us posted on what's going on. Complete crock of I have to be the one to keep calling, only to leave a voicemail and never get a response. Service would never buy another vehicle here, which I won't buy another vehicle there either, but not because of the service department. We did have, and my service advisor by the same name actually, dealt with some guy, and I don't remember if it was a Grand Highlander or just a regular Highlander, but had basically the same complaint.
Yeah.
And she asked him, she's like, what level is your fuel at when you're going to the station? Because even when your light's on, there's usually 1 to 3 gallons, depending on the vehicle, of a reserve, so that once your light comes on and it says 0 miles to empty, it's just trying to get you to the station.
Yeah.
It's saying, hey, I need fuel. I need you to pay attention to me.
I can't run on fumes.
Please go get me some gasoline. But it's not actually out yet.
Yeah. But that doesn't mean keep driving.
And this gentleman actually sent her a picture, and it had 1/8 of a tank left. And she's like, doing the math here, sir. That looks perfect.
I'm speaking from experience most of the time when I'm saying things. When I tell you to read your paperwork, it's because I didn't. When I'm telling you to ask about your warranty, it's because I didn't. So I'm not saying you people are stupid. I'm stupid too. I did the same thing. So I'm just speaking from experience, trying to help you. Again, trying to help you. God. What's that one?
So this is at a Beamer dealership.
Uh-oh.
Terrible communication, fabricates the need for expensive repairs. Did not get back to us when they finally did say that it would take said it would take an additional week for a brake fluid exchange because the car had been taken out of the shop. Every time we take the car in, they tell us something different needs done despite not having had any previous recommendations done.
Those ones are hard to get around.
I'm still trying to figure out why it takes a week to do a brake fluid service.
Yeah, that I don't agree with. That's not a big thing. But I mean...
Or let me schedule you in a week because my technicians are already booked.
That would make more sense.
But I don't need to keep your car for a week to do a brake fluid flush.
No, it takes
an hour? Maybe 2 hours?
Yeah. I mean, if it's being a crappy little butt to be bullied.
Yeah. Well, and like I think also people don't appreciate that when you're scheduling something, almost all repair facilities, if you are scheduling something more than an oil change or tire rotation, like you're dropping off for the day because every single job has a set amount of time that it's supposed to take. Does
Anything
not
could go
mean it's
wrong.
say anything can go wrong.
If you think it's going to be quick, it's not.
Yeah, yeah. Like you have no idea if something is going to go smooth as butter or not. So like we try to schedule a certain amount of hours for the day, but all of those get dropped off in the morning.
Yeah. Especially if you have a vehicle where you live in a heavy salted area. Expect for the worst at all times.
Always
at all times. Because sometimes when we're just trying to do a brake job, things break because it's rusted. That salt eats away. That's why we tell you to wash your vehicles. It's not because I'm judging you. It's not my job. I'm not here to judge you. I'm also not here to be a detective. I wish I could be. Like I said earlier, love crime shows. However, that I don't do that. I'm not a detective. You know, I've had adjusters for insurance, your car insurance, when you got into an accident, try to ask me if I think that this could have happened in the accident. Ma'am, I don't know. I'm just telling you what I told you what's broken, what's not working. I mean, I guess it could have. But then that's on me.
As the adjuster, isn't that your job to determine?
Yeah, I thought you were the detective, brother. Like, that's not me. I specifically had one come in and ask if I thought the customer was lying, if I felt like it was shady, like really investigating.
Oh, let's see what else we have to say about BMW. Initially, my experience was good. The salesperson was very responsive and helpful. Of course they are. Salespeople are always responsive and helpful until you purchase the vehicle. They offer great add-on packages, which is great for newer cars. Unfortunately, the day I went to buy the car, an employee at BMW hit it and scraped the front of it and the bumper. I was not told this before arriving, but when I got there, I was promised the dealership would fix it and had it in the contract. They were willing to drive down and pick up my car and give me a loaner car, which was nice. They had my car for a week and only fixed the paint. There was still damage that was not fixed. Ben, the sales manager, called me and said that they would make it right, but I have not heard from him again and was not given an update. I'm attaching the fixed pictures of my car to this review. Please be very wary of this dealership. If there is something that needs to be fixed, have them fix it before you buy it from them. Which is probably a good rule of thumb in general. Like, oh god, that bumper placement.
Oh wow, that looks real beautiful.
Yeah. My paint tech.
Oh god.
My paint tech husband would love this.
Oh my god.
Yeah, they didn't even like address these.
The plastics.
They didn't even try to like sand that out at all. And like, granted, that carbon fiber pattern, like that just needs to be replaced.
Yeah.
But... oh my god. Yeah, in general, like if you're at a dealership and you're looking at a vehicle that's damaged, especially a new car dealership, just wait for another car.
Yeah. Don't even try.
It's not worth it. And like it's already been repaired once. So you've already like before you even purchased it, it's got depreciation. So
I mean, I don't know if you've ever heard the saying about as soon as you drive off the lot, it depreciates. That's a thing. It's 100% true.
That is absolutely a thing.
Especially if it's already damaged.
But yeah, like this being damaged like this before you even purchased it, that probably knocked 10 grand off the value of that vehicle. And like maybe that's a bargaining chip for you though.
Yeah.
Be like, hey, you know, I'm not taking this as it is. You're fixing it and you're paying me the depreciation. Yeah. Or you're taking the depreciation off of my sale. But don't leave a dealership with a brand new car that needs work.
Yeah.
Just
you
don't
shouldn't do it. One, you're setting yourself up for a nightmare. I mean, instead of being able to enjoy your new car that you worked so hard for, you're having to fix it. Or you're trying to mess around with the dealership to get them to do what they said they were going to do.
Oh, I guess I just needed to read the rest of that first sentence. That threw me off. So I scheduled my appointment today and made the 4-hour drive from Aspen in order to get an oil change. And then I stopped reading for a second. I'm like, why wouldn't you just get an oil change in Aspen anyway? But then the rest of that sentence was, but more importantly, get the charging port on my car fixed.
Okay.
Which, yes, you do need to go to a dealership for that.
Yes.
When I arrived, or at least a decent mechanic.
Yeah.
When I arrived, I was told that they would be unable to service the car for at least 2 days, and I would only be able to offer an oil change today. Which was that on the appointment, or did you add it? Because
Which one?
if you didn't make the appointment for the charging port, like as I said, for all major repairs, it's a drop off for at least the day. Diagnostics are such a gamble on time.
Mm-hmm.
You may only pay for an hour, but a lot of technicians are going to spend 2, 3, 4, maybe even more to make certain that they are diagnosing your car correctly and ordering the correct parts to fix it the first time. And they're not getting paid for that.
Nope.
They are only going to get paid for 1 hour of diagnostic time, even if they've put 3 to 5 into your car.
And a lot of people will.
So yes, if you try to add a diagnostic onto an oil change appointment, you're probably going to be told no.
Just because, I mean, our schedule is allotting a certain amount of time that we're trying to get things out that day. So if I promise you, yeah, this is only going to take an hour, and you come in and say, oh, I forgot to say, my stereo glitches out every now and then. Okay, Barbara, well, we have to make another appointment. I can't do that today. I only allotted an hour for your oil change. Well, can't you just have another technician figure that out while they're doing my oil change? No, I can't just put a tech in the air while I'm trying to drain out your oil.
Yeah.
That's what?
I questioned them why they wouldn't inform me that they were backed up, because I would not have made the 4-hour journey to Highlands Ranch knowing I wouldn't be able to get my car serviced. In addition, they were unwilling to work with me in any regard to get transportation back to Aspen, which if this
It's not they're liable.
They're not necessarily liable, but like if this is a BMW dealership, like I do kind of expect that.
Really? I
Yeah.
never really expect that.
For like a BMW, Mercedes, like a luxury brand like that, I would expect them.
Sometimes not anymore nowadays, to be honest with you.
Anyway, in fact, he questioned my financial ability and suggested I purchase a flight from Denver back to Aspen while I waited for the service to be completed. Yeah, sounds like you did get a service advisor.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had a service advisor question my ability to pay something. To say I'm shocked is an understatement. I drove 4 hours after confirming that I would be able to get my nearly new car serviced.
She just keeps saying
and was
service.
in disbelief at the service treatment I received from this advisor. Yeah,
So,
like,
I mean,
so the oil change would have been done. Like, if that was all you scheduled, that was what you would have gotten. I don't understand why.
I have a feeling that they didn't mention the charging port.
I have a feeling they didn't as well. This is certainly not the experience we aim to provide. This was the response from the dealership.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly apologize for any inconvenience caused. It's concerning that you weren't informed about service delays beforehand. But again, like, I want to know, did you only schedule the oil change and then think, oh, they can just check that out while they have it?
Yeah. I mean, because your assumptions are not my responsibility.
Yeah.
Or any advisor's responsibility. Ask questions. Open your mouth. I mean that in the most respectful way possible. Whatever is wrong with your vehicle, I even tell people when I have to book them out for a certain amount of weeks because they have a list of repairs. If anything comes up between now and a week before that appointment, call me and tell me so I can add it to your appointment so I can make sure I'm still allotted that amount of time. Or I can tell you you're going to have to leave it with me for 2 to 3 days. I can properly explain to you, I can properly prep you for the time that I think it's going to start with. That's not to get fixed. That's what we are starting with. That is just getting it figured out. And a lot of advisors do work that way. They'll try and get you to drop off for a diagnostic appointment. Let's say it's a really bad electrical problem. Your windows roll down randomly. Your cigarette lighter starts the truck. Your blinker sets off your horn. I mean, something like that, right? That's crazy. I'm going to tell you you're going to leave it for a week so I can get it figured out. It may take me 3 days or it may take me that full week to get it figured out, depending on what it is.
Why did you just make me think of the Ram Tipham problem?
Oh my God. Yeah, okay, I might have been also thinking about that too. But some crazy stuff happens when it comes to electrical stuff. It takes some time.
And especially like Chrysler, electrical systems, like Chrysler had a reputation in the early 2000s for having like the 90s and 2000s for having the worst electrical systems out there.
Yeah.
It has not gotten better. I thought that reputation kind of dissipated, and maybe like I just don't hear about it anymore because it's still just the standard.
It's still so bad.
It's kind of like, back in high school in a big city, like fights were such a common thing.
Yeah.
At our school, or at other schools, like you just didn't hear about them anymore. So like when my friend moved up to the mountains, a fight in our school was a big deal. So like they heard about that.
Oh, really?
And they're like, well, we hear about fights down there all the time. Isn't that a bad school? And she's like, no, that was one of the better ones. That's why you heard about it.
Yeah. Usually if you hear about it, it's because it's like crazy that it happened.
It's unusual. Yeah.
It's out of the norm.
So Chrysler still having weird electrical problems. It's just expected at this point.
Oh, yeah. And I think that also a lot of the times it's the way that things were built. Like Ford had such a bad name for the longest time. Found on road dead, right? That's one of their main things. I've never had any Ford I've ever owned, and I've owned a 2000 to 2023. They're great if you maintain them.
Yep.
You pay attention to them. Mine have names, birthdays. Now, don't get that crazy. I'm just saying that I pay attention. I look into it. I don't really listen to what the manufacturer has to say because it's outrageous. Look at similar engines for across the board brands. Look at the same kind of build setup to get what other recommendations are. There's no such thing as a lifetime fluid. We've talked about that before, and there's no such thing. It's full synthetic oil is not meant to last forever.
No.
I mean, it's supposed to last longer, but it's not.
Yeah, like as far as the
It's just
detergent,
supposed to give you wiggle room.
yeah, as far as like the detergent packages and everything like that, like the full synthetic oil is significantly superior, which is why car manufacturers go with them. Diesels, and I am going back on my college professor was a professor in his retirement for fun.
Oh, really?
He was an engineer. An engineer. There is not a Kenworth on this road that does not have a patent from that man.
That's awesome.
For his entire career. And he was part of the team that investigated full synthetic fluids to see if it was worth switching their fleet over to them.
Oh.
So their determination was the engine oil, because these vehicles turn over so many miles, was not worth converting to a synthetic, because the time frame that it added was not significant enough. Like the mileage was hit before the time frame. But they did have a savings in all of the other fluids.
Yeah.
The transmissions, the gearboxes, the differentials, all of those they did convert to a synthetic fluid because the intervals in the detergent packages were an improvement and actually did save the company money over time.
Yeah.
But not the engine oil, because those vehicles just turn so many miles.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, in a, semi, you're talking about gallons of fluids.
Yep.
Not quarts of fluids.
Yes.
Where you have in a pickup truck or a car. There's a big difference. And trucker people will know exactly what we're talking about. My spouse has worked on both normal vehicles, trucks, cars, Jeeps, whatever they are. But he also works on semi-trucks and heavy-duty excavators and that kind of stuff. So that's where some of that knowledge I have comes from, is him, from what I've learned. I'm not allowed to go and help in the shop without telling what everything is and what he's doing. He makes me learn. I had one of the first things that he gave me when I decided to start this career were manuals, books of how to rebuild transmissions, how to rebuild engines. I was to read those books. I was to ask questions. He had me rebuilding transfer cases with him. He had me explaining what we were doing. He helped me so much in my career, but I'm still not a mechanic. Just because I kind of learned some things from him. No, that was like my quick notes. Like, our book reports in high school, and we used Spark Notes? What was it called?
Either Quick Notes, Spark Notes, something like
Something,
that. Yeah.
we know what we're talking about. That would sum up the book, and I just had to redo what they said for my book report, so I didn't copyright. That's what I do with my spouse.
Yeah, having that background and that understanding of like just the basic mechanics of it is such an advantage to an
Oh yeah.
advisor.
Hey, sometimes I don't know exactly what I'm talking about,
Yes.
but I'm going to tell you that so that you know if I mess up, don't scream at me, dude. I just explained to you, Jimmy, that I didn't know exactly how to explain this electrical thing.
Yeah.
So I have a diagram in front of me. I'm showing you how we traced it because I don't know how to exactly explain. I went from pin 2 to pin 19 to 20 over, I don't know. You know, I'm just, that was made up, but something like that, you know.
I think that's a big part of this industry and like people, customers mistrust starts with when they feel like they've been lied to.
Oh yeah.
If you don't know, the only appropriate answer is I don't know, let me find out.
Mhm. It
That
doesn't
is
make
the
you stupid.
that is the only appropriate answer so your customers don't feel like they've been lied to.
Yeah. Honestly, and I will say from proven facts. This has happened to me. It is how I figured this out. Is as soon as I told somebody when they asked me a question, oh, actually, I truthfully don't know the answer to that. Let me go grab somebody that is more knowledgeable in this, and I'll be right back.
Yeah.
And
Or
if I
let me
couldn't explain what they just told me, they came up with me.
Yeah. Or let me go do some research on this and I will
Yeah.
call you back.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Happy to do that for you. But don't yell at me. Because at the beginning I said, hey, actually, I don't know.
Yeah.
Why don't you know that? Because I'm not a mechanic, Jimmy. I already told you that when you dropped your truck off this morning.
I am but a humble human on the face of earth. I am not the all-knowing.
Mm-hmm. And if you want me to be honest with you, I'd rather be home knitting, watching my crime shows, than talking to you, Jimmy.
I think we are way over our time for today.
But
so
we got some good bloopers for you.
I've got a lot of editing to do.
Oh, I guess we could talk about our new release date.
Yes, and because my beautiful, lovely co-host now lives an hour away.
Yes.
I am going to move our release date from Mondays to Wednesdays so that I have more time to edit if, like today, we have to record later in the day than I would like. So I apologize to everyone that was expecting this 2 days ago. This is going to be released on Wednesday, and I'm gonna
It's my fault.
I'm gonna try to post shorts everywhere, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, letting everyone know. If you only listen on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, or iHeartRadio, I apologize that you did not get any heads up on it, but we will be on Wednesdays from now on.
And I am sorry, I had to move. But we will make sure that you still get to listen to our beautiful voices.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.
Toodaloo!